Hello, and welcome back to another chapter of Twinkle Snow Dream. This is a White Album 2 side story, an official side story written by Fumiaki Maruto-san, which explores the possibility of what if Haruki had got with Kazusa after the festival instead of Setsuna. In the last episode, things were horrifically sad. It was Setsuna's birthday party. She did not even invite Haruki or Kazusa because she wanted to move on with her life, and she knew being around them was just going to hold everybody back and make everybody sad, which was a great decision until Haruki came by and said, "Hey, let's celebrate your birthday with Kazusa," and just kept pushing and pushing and pushing even though she said no. And then finally, Setsuna pressed her lips to his, and everything's crashing down. Let's continue with part 9. Epilogue 3. With a voiceless scream, she woke suddenly. The moment she opened her eyes, she was met by light from the east, shining through her window, and a familiar ceiling. It was a morning like any other. A morning like any other 3 years after that winter. Phew. After shaking her head slightly, she slowly sat up, turning the vague memory from moments before over in her mind. Or maybe he did. Or maybe he and she both. I ruined it again. It was another possibility. A dream, different from reality. Not like what happened 3 years ago, when 3 became 2 and 1, and then 1 and 1 and 1, but an attempt to reach a future in which all 3 of them could smile and find happiness. They had lost track of how many times it had happened, but he and she, still unable to reach an answer that all 3 of them wanted, atoned for their sins in this way every single night. Goosebumps. So this book really just took the trope of, oh, it was all a dream. And that's all it was. It was her mind trying to come to grips with things to find what would have been the best answer. Would Haruki getting with Kazusa have solved everything? Clearly, as we saw in this dream, it would not have. So I guess that answers the age-old question of what if. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the analysis portion, where we just kind of analyze the entire book. So this is Twinkle Snow Dream Analysis. The first scene in this story, following the brief framing moment at the very start, is a happy domestic image. Setsuna teaches Kazusa, her best friend, how to cook, because Kazusa is worried about not being able to make anything for her boyfriend. Meanwhile, said boyfriend, Setsuna's other dearest friend, warns them both that they really ought to get back to studying, for Kazusa's sake. Apart from Kazusa's heightened emotional sensitivity, it seems as though very little has changed, which is exactly as Setsuna wants it to be. The lovers and their Cupid, the 3 of them all together. Which in the first chapter was really, really cute, but then things don't go so cute later on. The first signs that things might not be quite as ideal as they look actually comes through Takeya and Io, and their discomfort while witnessing Haruki and Kazusa leaning all over each other in the 3rd section. In the moment, it might simply come off as exasperation in the face of 2 sweethearts displaying affection for each other, albeit in their own idiosyncratic ways, especially combined with Setsuna's bright energy as she shows up and sweeps everyone off their end of exams karaoke party. But we know how much Takeya and Io care about Setsuna, and it's likely that at least some of their indigestion comes from worries about her state of mind regarding this whole thing. Indeed, it is during her conversation with Io on the way to the karaoke spot that Setsuna finally states outright that she lost, introducing the idea that she and Kazusa were rivals competing over Haruki. At this point, Setsuna herself is still acting as though everything is fine, but clouds have begun to appear. And it wouldn't be so bad if that was it, like, oh, I lost, oh, they're together now. But the fact that Haruki is still grappling with his feelings on top of Setsuna, feeling that loss, that's where that connection that never should have been there, between Setsuna and Haruki after he started dating Kazusa, that shouldn't have happened, but it did happen. The cracks in Setsuna's resolve become clearer during the trio's Christmas party at the inn, where she falters in the middle of her final toast. Haruki and Kazusa are quick to assure her that the three of them will remain just that. The three of them. The next year, and the next year, and the next, forever. But Setsuna acknowledges to herself later that no dream can last forever. It worsens in the next section as her desire for time alone with Haruki, found through his insistence upon walking her home from school, asserts itself more strongly, until her phone conversation gone sour with Kazusa and her emotional breakdown immediately thereafter finally brings home to her that this group of three things she wanted so badly really isn't going to work. And we saw the opposite happen too when it was Haruki with Setsuna, Kazusa absolutely breaking down after that hot springs trip. It's just there's too many emotions involved for it to work itself out. Suddenly, she can't even bring herself to see Haruki at all anymore. She fakes a cold to get out of crossing paths with him at Kazusa's competition performance. She starts waiting until the last minute to show up at school, staying in class during breaks, and leaving early just to avoid seeing him. She considers switching majors in college so she and Haruki won't be in the same department anymore. Even though, as Io later points out, she went into the politics and economics department because Haruki was going to be there as well. The pain that the mere concept of the three of them causes her has become so severe that she starts wondering whether she and Haruki will have to change the names by which they address each other. I don't think that's so severe. I mean, it's too bad. I think good friends should be able to call each other by their first names, but the insinuation there is really something more. This question in particular echoes several other significant name-related moments in the course of the trio's history. Setsuna and Kazusa finally beginning to call one another by name, for example, so her despair at the thought of having to take things back a step to become Ogiso and Kitahara-kun again is similarly significant. At this point, Takeya and Io re-enter the picture to call Haruki and Setsuna out in parallel. And I love how this was written. This was written so well, because you really get to see the two's thoughts at the same time, having that same difficult conversation. Haruki's problem lies in the desire to keep both of the girls he cares about without drawing a more distinct line, even though a distinction has clearly formed itself, all the more with the new level of physical intimacy he and Kazusa recently reached. Setsuna's problem lies in the contradictions of her wish to keep both of her dearest friends and her unavoidable feelings for Haruki. This wish she cherished, this ideal of the three of them, is causing both her and their relationship to fracture. Unfortunately, the conclusions reached by each of these conversations don't fit together. Even though Setsuna shows some promise in her decision to let go of her fixation on everything remaining the same between the three of them, Haruki is determined to keep on with it because he sincerely believes that that's what Setsuna wants. I don't believe that for 2 seconds, not even 1 second. That is the excuse that Haruki is making for wanting to keep Setsuna involved, but he can tell that she's avoiding them. He can tell that she's trying to get out, and he doesn't want to let that go. So, yes, he can keep telling himself that all he wants, but really, he's just being greedy. He's doing this for his own sake. Hence, after Setsuna's birthday party in the next section, a party to which neither Haruki nor Kazusa was invited, during which she found herself feeling truly happy and fulfilled for the first time in months, Haruki's sudden appearance at her door with a gift shatters everything. God, why? He doesn't mean to. He sincerely thinks that Setsuna will want to come with him to celebrate together at Kazusa's place. No, he doesn't. I do truly think that this is what Haruki wants. He wants them all to be together and wants to be friends, and he is using that as an excuse to come see her. But if it came down to it, I do not think he's doing this for her sake. I do not think he truly believes that's what she wants. I do not for a second think that. He admits that he wants to keep things as they are, even if it's selfish of him. He has refused to take Takeya's advice and draw a line, and his adamant insistence upon honesty leads him to all but state outright that he and Kazusa are now sexually involved with each other. There was no way for a declaration like that to lead anywhere positive. And following it up by reiterating that he and Kazusa still love Setsuna and want to be with her is too little, too late. I don't think she needed that at all, honestly. I don't think it's too late. I think it's just, this was not meant to be a trio after all that. In one sense, it seems as though that sort of extreme shock might have been enough to cut Setsuna loose from her obsession for real, for good. She does say to herself that she's prepared to throw everything away and disappear out of their lives. But then she kisses him, and it's not without a tiny sliver of hope, and that hope is the undoing of the entire thing. Shouldn't have done that. She definitely shouldn't have done that. I know I don't cut Haruki slack pretty much at all, but Setsuna should not have done this. This was not good. The lack of names in the very last section is interesting, as well as the deliberate ambiguity regarding pronouns, because this scene could be describing her, or him, or even both. It draws them together by placing the blame and the punishment, the nightly reliving or reimagining of the choices they made on both of them. The previous section might not state outright whether Haruki made the wrong choice that Setsuna hoped he would, but the lament over having ruined it again suggests that he did. Oh, I'm sure he did, because if this was supposed to be kind of an opposite to what had happened in Introductory, on Setsuna's birthday, when he was dating Setsuna, he went with Kazusa. Now he's dating Kazusa, and on Setsuna's birthday, he goes with Setsuna. I'm sure that's what would have happened. Either way, their failure to draw the line that they were both told to draw caused the whole relationship between the three of them to collapse. It is a grim, gray ending, the complete opposite of the warm, idealistic scene at the start, and a stark depiction of the end of a dream, whether literal or figurative. So, do I think this dream actually happened in White Album 2? No, I think this is just a nice side story to answer that fan question, what would have happened? Because a lot of fans could have thought, oh, well, if only he got with Kazusa, things would be fine. This was Maruto-san's way of saying, if he got with Kazusa, it wouldn't have been fine, So, a very, very interesting side story, full of possibilities, but none of them leading to good. So, thank you so much for having been here with me on Twinkle Snow Dream, and I will see you with more White Album 2 content in the future. So until then, hope you take care. See you!